Hobby's kind of stacked. Wigwug, Doruaza. At least I get +1 placement from Kai.
Here we go for the first VOD review of the set for set 14. Welcome. This is taken from the PvE. And you can see I'm wearing the exact same hoodie in this video because I was like, as soon as I finished this game, I was like, I gotta talk about it because I thought this was a really, really cool and interesting line from the new set. Now, obviously, I'm just gonna point it out right now because I'm sure you've noticed at this point, the coloring looks a bit off. I don't know why my OBS just decided to put a color filter on the monitor source. It just did that, but here we are. So I apologize for it, but I'm sure you can still take away a lot from this game. As here, we're holding onto the marksmans as well. We're holding onto the cog and the kindred with a bow start. So I'm kind of thinking about like Ginsu's if I can get to it. And luckily enough, we already dropped it. Alistar at the beginning for a little bit of a tank with the 2 rapid in the back line. I'm trying to think like, okay, I can probably do like maybe like a bruiser front line into like a rapid fire backline opener and try to tempo with such. You will notice, by the way, as we play through the game, there will be a lot of errors. The set is very new, so I do apologize if you do see me doing errors, but you'll see nonetheless that this game will still come out on top. Over here, 2-1 augments, we have speed, kill, storm-plated armor, and gold for dummies. I do think the absolute correct decision here to take Thorn-Plated is very valid. I think that with an Alistar 2, with Thorn-Plated and a Ginsu's ramping up in the back, I think Thorn-Plated is really, really, really good for trying to win streak really hard and trying to play like standard and making a lot of sense with some sort of Ginsu holder. May that be Aphelios, may that be Zeri. Totally chill. Now, whenever you're thinking about, by the way, rapid fire unit holders, Zeri is kind of like the first one that comes to mind, but you got to make sure that if you're going to play Zeri, that the actual item for, I believe it's called Exotech, is a good Zeri item for the 3-piece, because typically if it's not, maybe it's not something you want to be playing too often, but regardless, if it's not that great, maybe you want to lean a bit more or be more open to Xayah or Aphelios, one of the other 4 cost carries of the set. We also have gold for dummies, speed kills, and here's the thing. I really wanted to limit test a very specific idea I had that revolves around speed kills, this specific augment. So, I actually do not opt to take Thorn-Plated, even though I can 100,000% understand why that would be a good chase. As you can see here, by the way, we'll just look at this. Corrupted Chassis, Pulse Stabilizer, and Repulsor Lantern. None of these are that great for Zeri, so it's not really a Zeri game per se, but I still wanted to limit test a specific idea. I'm not trying to give away too much here, but I ended up re-rolling middle and right side here just to make sure that nobody else was playing around rapid fires. I hit Pill for Superstars, not that great, and speed kills ends up being our 2-1 augment choice. Here, I see that we have a bruiser in our shop with Mundo for our level 4, and this is sort of the board right now. I was debating between TF or Kog'Maw. I do think Kog'Maw is the correct option here to put the Ginsu's because he also likes the sword. I threw it on the TF here specifically because I was trying to limit test. I think that's what's really important during the PvE is that you are limit testing comps, see how units feel in terms of unit quality, and then you can really start making your own assumptions as to like what unit is good and what unit is bad, and really solidify that foundation when it comes to trying to understand, you know, unit quality. As I can tell already, I'm already really not happy about this TF. I'm not sure if Kog'Maw would have been doing that much more, but this TF unit just feels, especially as a 1-star, feels pretty bad. I'm sure TF 2-stars can feel pretty good, but especially with the Ginsu and a Kog'Maw, where Kog'Maw is like, his whole kit is really ramping around like casting, and TF is a bit more of like a magic caster. It does make a lot more sense that Kog'Maw would be the one to better equip the Ginsus in the spot, despite the fact that TF is, yes, a 2-cost unit. You can see Sub-Zero Arc is also in this game as well, playing too much value. I think his original intent was to play around a TF reroll line. Not sure if that's necessarily any good, but I do think that TF with Ginsu's is probably not your ideal bet. I do think that TF in this current set is going to be a lot more similar to the way that you rebuilt him last set. So your Shojin, your Archangel, your JG, Morello, I view him way more of a caster than I view him as like an attack speed auto ramper, right? At least that's how I see it. His spell, if you don't know, is just he throws cards, and then if he has the Kingpin bonus, he gets to throw like a bunch of the different kinds of cards. He can throw a blue one or a red one, or he can throw a gold one. I believe the blue one does true damage, the red one does an AoE effect damage, and then the gold one gives you like 1 gold, so you can farm you some extra money. Here on the carousel, I am looking at bow and rod specifically. If you can't already tell at this point, I am trying to lean towards like a double Ginsu Gunblade line. So this is actually something that's really interesting. So for a lot of sets, you might be going, oh, Zeri reroll from last set, like this is the exact same shit. Well, here's the thing. A lot of compositions in TFT, does not matter what set it is, a lot of compositions follow the same ideas. And I think that's what's really important. If you don't remember, back in like Oh, what was it? It was Bastion Aphelios. I believe it was set 9, because I think it was a Targon unit. Yeah. Bastion Aphelios back in set 9 was also double Ginsu's Gunblade. And then if you remember in set 12, I apologize, set 12, Callista, Fairy Callista was also double Ginsu. I don't think it was double Ginsu Gunblade specifically, but it could have been. But it was double Ginsu's plus X, right? Double Ginsu plus X item is a very common line, and the similarities between them is very simple. You have a very tanky, very beefy front line, and you have somebody who is ramping like crazy in the back line trying to produce damage, right? And that's kind of the idea that I'm going for here, is that I'm trying to follow the same motif, trying to build up a composition that we've seen before, just trying to see what that new flavor is in order to really make it work. So as you can tell, I am trying to kind of aim for that double Ginsu Gunblade line. That's sort of like what I am aiming for here. Again, I'm actually putting the item here onto Draven here as the Ginsus. Again, I think Cog could honestly just be better than this Draven one. But overall, I think, again, I'm trying to limit test these units here, trying to see what they feel like. You can also see I'm not making like the most concrete and correct decisions when it comes to like making my economy. I was like playing around with the idea of like 4 rapid fire versus 2 rapid fire, and seeing like how that plays around with like my front line. Maybe I can have a really weak front line but a very strong back line, and maybe just end the fight as quick as possible. But you know, I'm just trying to make my econ thresholds and make things work out. I see here that my double Ginsus and a Last Whisper is always looking really good here. So I reforged the sword here because I don't really have a better use of it, and I can just use any other component. I end up getting very lucky here, getting a Gunblade here from the Rod and a Last Whisper. So now I can basically just focus on my frontline items at this point, and that's like all I need to worry about. So I see here that I am losing. In fact, I can tell my frontline is really poor. So we're gonna go into the Augment selection, but let's talk a little bit about the decision making going into stage 4. Cool. Augments, Raining Gold, Forward Thinking, and Heroic Grab Bag. If I was trying to lean into like a reroll line, maybe I could consider Heroic Grab Bag. Forward Thinking is very bad in this spot. We're level 5, 40 gold on 3-2. That's pretty fucking poor. So definitely Forward Thinking is one of those, like, you're already level 6, you already have econ, and you already have a strong board. So taking Forward Thinking is almost like a no-brainer. You might as well just take it. So Forward Thinking, not for me, so I'm absolutely leaning to Raining Gold here, which makes sense. I'm poor. This gives me econ now. It helps me rebuild my econ thresholds, and I can help me play standard, and that's kind of what I'm trying to go for. I'm looking at Noble Sacrifice to see if this makes any more sense as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I could potentially take it, but again, I really want to fix my economy here. That's like the number one thing. Obviously, Pandora's items makes no sense because we have all of the components and items that we want. That's not going to really fly here. So, going to be a Raining Gold game for sure. So we take Raining Gold here, and again, look at this shop. We got a Sejuani and a Darius, which is really nice. And at this point, I'm like, okay, cool. I remember back in set 9, Bastion Aphelios was a thing. Maybe I can pull off something similar here, and Bastion's is already back. So why not try like a Bastion Aphelios line and see what goes on here? So I'm trying to formulate some variation of it, and I'm sure there's plenty. You could honestly probably do this with Zeri. You can do this with Aphelios. I think it really depends on what you find. And I think, again, the thing about Bastion that's super nice in this current set is that Bastion actually has a 2-piece in there already built in terms of exo tech. You get the Jax and the Sejuani, 1 cost and a 4 cost respectively, right? Sejuani, incredibly great tank. One of the best tanks in the set, in my opinion, I actually think, compared to all the other ones. She just feels so good and super tanky and just solid wall. But you have the 2 Bastions in there. You just need that 3rd Exotech unit, and Zeri's an Exotech unit. So I'm thinking in my head Zeri here. I know I don't have a good item here for Zeri, but I'm actually kind of okay with that because I actually really like the Sejuani unit. So I'm totally okay knowing that my 3-piece for the Exotech is going to be the chassis. Not the best item for our Exotech item for Sejuani, but it's good enough. It gets the job done. It's a tanky one, and I think that is totally fine. These Exotech items, in terms of power scaling, just to give you a more concrete idea as to like what they feel like, they are sort of this, whatchamacallit, like slightly better than a normal item, but worse than a artifact, like an Ornn artifact, which is worse than a rating item. So I believe Ace made a really good post on Twitter. I will link it in the description below if you want to go check it out. But he made a really good point talking about the Exotech items and how to play around them in different combinations and stuff like that. It wasn't like super in-depth, but it gives you a good sense as to like what those Exotech items are really about. As you can see here, I did a really interesting thing here. So I fucked up my econ last turn on 3-2, and again, it's just part of the set. We're not gonna be perfect, but I realized that I am weak. Super fucking weak as shit, right? And I think what's really great is that because I know I'm weak as shit, and like if I'm gonna lose streak anyways, I might as well play a little bit of Cypher, get a little bit of extra economy or items or something to boost the power of my board. Because in case you forgot, a lot of these like double Ginsu comps and compositions in general when it comes to the thematics of the comp, that was hella fucking redundant, but I'm not doing another take. They are very, very like win out type of comps, right? Do you remember Fairy Callista, where it was like you send it on 4-2, you hit Rakan 2, your Callista 2, and then you just turbo win out, right? It's the same sort of idea with like Aphelios. Bastion's Aphelios has the same philosophy. You sort of just completely, you could sometimes even just fully lose, just make sure you prioritize the items that you get, being the double Ginsus +1. And then once you have your Aphelios 2 plus your like front line, you were just like chilling. You were set and you were just like basically unstoppable. Nobody could beat your board. So I'm trying to follow a similar philosophy, and that's how you can also limit test compositions, which I think is really important, not talked about enough. But when it comes to trying to learn what comps are good in the set, they need to follow these same patterns that previous comps that have been proven to work have done, right? I believe that sentence made sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this. If this comp has legs, I can lose a shit ton of HP as long as I'm prioritizing my items appropriately, and I will still be able to win out. Because as history has said, Callista or Aphelios have all done the same thing of lose a lot of HP as your resource, but you are perfect BIS items that can win out and nobody can stop you. That is my whole plan in this spot, right? So you will see the way that I manage my economy actually looks really stupid, and it probably is, to be honest. To be fair, I was like slightly tilt rolling, but we'll get to that in a bit. But anyways, we are Cypher losing at this moment, and I guess we can talk a little bit about Cypher as well. So Cypher, in case you don't know already, is the lose streak trait of the set. It feels like Heartsteel, where you basically get rewarded for killing more units, but you do want to lose because you get more intel. That's like the currency that uses the 69 and 75 there on the left hand side. But you get more intel as you kill units and as you lose and as your streak continues. Also, by the way, very lucky here. I get the Sejuani pair here. Super chilling. But I see that, again, I see that I'm 4 Bastion, and this is my strongest board. But there's also a Vi that's sitting in my shop. And because I know the Vi's in my shop, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I had to double check to make sure. But yes, if you have more intel units on your board, you get more Cypher units on the board, you get more intel. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Cool. I'm actually going to put this Vi on my board instead. We're going to be chilling with this, and everything is going to be fine and dandy. So that's kind of my thought process here. Is I'm going to put the Vi on my board for one last one, and I'll probably be losing again. I have not been doing my due diligence and scouting enough, but this Draven is probably Turbo Whiz. Draven, again, he's not really like an auto all the time type of unit. He's more of a ramp up and cast like a shit ton, and you want to keep ulting and throwing your axe across like the whole board and hitting everything. That's kind of like his whole identity. So I know my board is like not nearly strong enough to like win any fights, but maybe it's enough to just do well, right? And kill a couple units, get a little more intel. But anyways, I'm looking at my cash out here for the Cypher, and we're gonna talk about Cypher like a whole fuck ton later down the line. But Cypher right now is looking like a, you know, it's fine. Like, I'm looking at this cash out, and I know that because I have to cash out on 3-7, I'm not waiting until 4-3 because that's the only other time that I can cash out, that or 4-7. That's too late. I'm gonna lose way too much HP at that point, so I have to cash out. I get a little bit extra money here. I get the little Jin bonus. It's fine. It's nothing to really like write home about. But I know on this 4-1 turn, I am fucking sending it because I need to hit my shit, and if I don't, I mean, that's the nature of this kind of composition, is that you kind of have to hit your units, and if you don't, despite the fact that you were econing and, you know, creating such a high priority for your items, if you don't hit this shit, you're kind of fucked, right? So, also really interesting here, we got a hacked orb here. It gets a bunch of like shitter units. I don't really know if they're not really all one cost, which is really interesting, but really cool. I really like that. But it basically like pumps my econ like crazy here. And as you can see here, I'm like pumping my econ here, and I knew I was gonna go up to level 8 here, but I have 52 gold here to roll, which is super nice. So I'm rolling here, and I'm just trying to look for like a 2 rapid fire. I hit the Zeri super early. I'm looking for that Sejuani too, which is great. I find the Zac as well, so I'm trying to fit in Zac because I can like start farming bloblets as soon as possible. I hit the Zeri too, which is super great. And I'm already thinking like, okay, my spot is like pretty much chill here. I could pivot into 6 Bastion, but I think for now, this is probably chill. I'm out of time. I'm just gonna, you know, get the Draven off my board. And then I'm just going to put these items onto Zeri here on the Zeri 2. So I hit the Zeri 2 actually pretty fast, which is really nice. I slammed the Sunfire here because I know anti-heal is very, very, very lacking in the set. Renekton is the only unit that has it. And if you don't find your Renekton, you need to build some level of anti-heal. So I ended up building the Sunfire. So that's kind of chill as well. I actually stick with the TF as like my backline rapid fire, and the reason being is because every once in a while he can like drop like a little bit of gold, and I don't think any of the other rapid fire units really provide any level of utility. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at. You know, Aphelios does more damage, Kog'Maw just does more damage. I believe, like, yada yada yada. You get the idea. But anyways, going into the 4-2 augments, these are our hacked augments. So we get black market augments that are available to us. I see anger issues already. This is perking my brain, by the way. I'm looking at anger issues and I'm thinking, this sounds really fucking good. Like, there's actually, like, almost no reason why I can't take it. But here's the thing. I'm thinking, okay, it's not Lucky Gloves. I already love my items, and I'm not Lucky Gloves doing anything important. It's not Sponging for sure, so I can already tell that I'm not doing any of these. I see Radiant Refractor, and I'm the carry now. Pop quiz time. What do you take? Do you still take anger issues here, knowing that you're playing around like the rapid fire, the triple Ginsu stuff, or do you take Radiant Refractor here? Because did you lock in your answer? Yeah. I was not sure, to be completely honest, but I do know how much better Radiant Ginsu's in the past has been when it comes to these kinds of comps, and I know even though anger issues is so good, I did not re-roll for anything else for my front line. And as you can see here, we just roll back. Titanic Strike makes no sense here, and Luna's Echo makes no sense here. So I end up taking Radiant Refactor here. And that's the thing that I think you need to keep in mind when you're doing your augment decision making, is that, like, yes, this is a perfect, such a good item for my Zeri, but literally no other unit on my board is really going to make much use of it, right? And I think that's kind of the problem here. And Radiant Refactor just gives me such a good, like, very close in power item, right? I get the Radiant Ginsus, but I also get some components and I get to play around a bit more flexibly, right? So and I think that's really nice, because then, again, if I go anger issues, I can't get anti-heal on my board. That becomes a problem. And then I also can't get shred on my board. Also a problem. So my board just makes more sense taking Radiant Refractor here than it does taking anger issues. So I think it was close, but I do, and it depends on the stats. What did the stats say? But I do think it was very close. And considering how little anti-heal, and there's a decent amount of Sunder, but considering how little anti-heal there was, I was like, you know what? I think my spot for this just a little bit better, just because I have such perfect items going for my Zeri right here. Anyways, you're going to see me here roll quite deep. And I roll deep here knowing because I have the Sejuani pair, on top of the fact that I am also rolling, trying to find a fourth rapid fire. I end up finding another Zeri here, a Zeri 2, and here I really did not need to keep rolling down here. But in case you don't remember, when it comes to a lot of these types of compositions, I fuck up the Radiant Refractor here, I'm sorry. But when it comes to these compositions, in case you have forgotten, you really need that 2-star 4-cost tank. Like, you desperately really need that 2-star 4-cost tank. Now, the most optimal, perfect play, and you know, if this was a challenger lobby, I mean, I don't even have to scout to know that everybody's making really good boards, but it's not a challenger lobby. It's kind of like a, you know, there's a mix of challenger players in here, a couple 1200 LP players, but it's like some of that and then some Sub-Zero Arcs viewers, so it's a bit of a mishmash. And realistically speaking, you should anyways do your due diligence and scout to see if Sejuani 1 is enough to really ride on, because after I hit this Zeri 2, like the second one, like I have so much damage. I am chilling. So if that's the case, maybe hold off on like donkey rolling for this last Sejuani 2 and just scout the boards to see like how much stronger everybody is. Now, I already know that this Sejuani unit is going to be super contested. It's one of the most popular 4-cost tanks in the front line. So I did want to really make sure that I was like rolling, trying to find it. But you should do your due diligence and just like scout, see how many you're taking out. If it's like heavily contested, then yes, I should keep donkey rolling here and try to find it. But again, if it's not too contested, even though yes, it did happen to be, oh, I did miss it, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. This was really, you can see me, it was hiding behind a Bloblet here, and I'm not used to picking up units right after the Bloblet, so I immediately rolled after I picked up the Bloblet here, and you can see my reaction. I was like, oh fuck, what have I done? So I think after that I started tilt rolling as well, but which is not great. Also, I sold the Kabuko pair here, which I know a lot of people are going to say that that was the incorrect play. Like, you should not be selling Kabuko pair here at all, and I 100% agree, but hey, it's PBE, and I'm a little tilted, so my fault. I gotta work on that on myself. But you shouldn't sell the Kabuko pair here just in case you find that, like, because if you find that, like, 2-star Bruiser, you should play it over, like, the Sejuani and the 4 Bastions, especially considering how strong this Kabuko unit is. Sure? So, anyways, oh, sorry. 4-6 augments, because this is a hacked portal. So, Climb the Ladder, Mace's Will, Piercing Lotus. I think it's pretty obvious which one is the correct one. Definitely not, Mace's Will. Well, actually, Mace's Will is not that bad here, to be completely honest. I think that's totally fine. I just don't have a way to use the glove very well. I have a Last Whisper already, so that open bow, by the way, I really want it to be Ginsu's. So, not the biggest fan here, so I end up rerolling it pretty quickly. Climb the ladder also makes very little sense here. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna lean Piercing Lotus. I think that makes a perfect amount of sense. Scavenger doesn't make sense as well. I don't have a lot of units that can really utilize it. But as you can see here on my bench, I'm about to make 10 here. So, like, I should be rolling. I am scouting here, but I do notice that, like, Sejuani is pretty contested. So I am rolling, just trying to find that Sejuani as soon as possible, and I finally get to hit it on 4-6. It is late as fuck to be donkey rolling like this, like crazy, but I really wanted to, like, try to ensure streak as much as possible, but I also greedy here, so it's a little contradicting in the way that my brain was working here. I admit that. But it turns out that I was perfectly chill. I didn't even have to be donkey rolling this hard for it. So instead of even, like, selling the TF and then just, like, unlocking the shop, I just locked the shop for the Sejuani, call it a day. Because TF2 might actually make a difference at the end of the day. Who knows? So anyways, that's the board that we're sitting on. We're sitting on a double Zeri 4-Bastion board, which is pretty interesting. I think if you weren't playing this variation, you could play, like a Divinicore unit instead for the front line here. I think it's totally fine. Here, obviously, I mentioned this earlier, I really want to make Ginsu's, so this is kind of a no-brainer here. It's just Ginsu's and Redemption. It's a very straightforward pick here. You could do Adaptive as well, I guess, but I do think that doing the Redemption is nice because it actually heals up the Sejuani here, which I think is good. So, and then the Cloak, in case you didn't notice, I actually slam it on the Jax here for a little bit of bonus Exotech value. It's like the scrap of this set, by the way. Just keep that in mind. Pop quiz. What does Exotech, the trait, actually give you? Because I was going to be like, oh, it gives this, but I forgot. So now it's on you. Do you know? I don't know. I think it's damage amp. I think it's, I don't know why I tried to answer before I gave you a chance to answer. I'm sorry. But I do think it's damage amp, and I do think it's, like, HP, I think. Oh, it might be attack speed. I don't know. Someone correct me. Anyways, moving on. See, this is why we gotta study the set. It's important because we should know these things, and I don't know these things, and this is really bad. But a little embarrassing. All good. Natural to Zac 2 here, which is super nice, and the Renekton as well. So it's definitely a little high roll on my end here, but I think this is a really, really cool line of just playing, like, double Zeri. And again, this Zac, like, obviously I end up finding the Zac here, so it is a bit high roll. But I will say, though, again, it does not have to be Zac. It could be Divinicore. It could be, like, a Gragas. It could be, like, a Rost, right? Which is, I believe that gives armor and MR across the whole team, right? Because he's a Vanguard. You can tell I've been studying this set, bro. God damn it. He's so smart. Doesn't know what Exotech gives, but... Oh, it gives HP and attack speed. I was right. I wasn't confident, but I was right. Anyways, going to the carousel as well. I end up picking up the adaptive here. I'm just looking for Sejuani items. Steadfast would have been fine as well. Adaptive gives a little bit of extra mana, so I think that's okay. Here, I am debating about leveling here. I believe I do scout here, and I'm like, it's close enough that I don't feel confident in winning, like 100%. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna level here just in case. I do want to preserve the streak. That is like my #1 priority here. If I was a much, like, better player, or if I was much more in tune with set, then I would have maybe not leveled here. But it's like a 4-unit loss, and it's not like such a major win that I felt, like, super confident about it. So that's why I leveled here. And I do think the Senate made a difference. It does give AD across the whole team, so that's really nice. I'm also trying to think about, like, what else I can fit onto my board here. I'm thinking about 6 Bastion. I'm thinking about, like, other stuff as well. But in terms of the actual splash, it seems like Divinicore is kind of, like, the best thing I can throw in. And Rost is probably the only thing that's, like, better than the Senna. Just to make the front line just, like, that bit more tanky. You know, just getting that 6 armor MR. Across everybody, that I think would be really nice. 80 is fine, but again, only really benefits the 2 Zeris in the back, and I think I have enough damage already. So, as you can see here, I have the Renekton and the Poppy, and I'm sort of thinking about, like, okay, cool, could I play this now? But I'm reading the speed kills augment here, and it does seem like, based on the way that it's worded, you do need 2 rapid fire active in order to reap the benefits of it, because it starts at 2 stacks, right? And you don't, rapid fire units don't stack if you don't have rapid fire in. So that's a bit of a problem here. Here as well, there's no really good option, to be completely honest. I was thinking about another Ginsu or maybe Shojin for TF, but I don't want to be itemizing a TF here. I think that's really stupid. So I actually end up going with a blue buff here, and the only reason is because it just lets my Sejuani cast faster, and then maybe I can find something else that would actually do better. Here, you can see I'm taking such a long time here because I'm just like, this all sucks dick. But anyways, And we're getting a blue up here onto the Sejuani here. And again, we're sitting on 6 series. And we actually got dropped the duplicator here. So we actually have 2 outs now. My first out that I'm thinking about is cool. I can do 6 Bastion and then just chill with 6 Bastion and, you know, wipe my hands, call it a day. Or I could just roll for Zeri 3. I'm 2 off, and it doesn't seem like the lobby is really holding any. I think both are valid. I do think if this was a tournament, I would have rolled already trying to find a Zeri 3 because I do think that it would be contested. People would have noticed like so much sooner. But again, the level of this lobby is not that high, so I wasn't really expecting people to be like super scouting or super sweaty. It's PBE, like everyone's just kind of chilling. So that's kind of how, you know, this stuff went. So that's kind of, yeah. So I mean, again, like if this was a tournament, I would have rolled way sooner trying to find the last 2 copies of Zeri here. But I'm just trying to chill. I also want to see how strong 6 Bastion feels because that was something that was really important to me. So here, as you can see, that I am like holding 4 cots now, just trying to see that if I can get there. Sub-Zero ends up hitting like a random naked cog 3 for some reason. But I mean, look at the spot. We're 12 streaking. Everything is fine and dandy. Now, again, I do have a second Zeri 2 and a Zac that I found on my 4-2 roll down. So this game is definitely a bit high roll. So I do urge you to do your own research and see whether or not you think this composition would be great. I still think that with like a Zeri 2 plus 1 more Zeri, you can probably still farm like the same level of success. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing about this line, at least from what I can tell so far, is that you need that Sejuani 2 ASAP, you need that Zeri 2 ASAP. And if you can guarantee that, you should be good to go. Here, as you can see, I sell my stuff to get 6 Bastion in because I see Sub-Zero Arc is the last person in the lobby. I'm rolling to see if I can find like maybe the Zeris as well. I'm 1 off of Zeri 3, but I notice my time is low, so I just want to make sure that if I'm going to be, you know, doing anything right now, is that moving my items here so that my Zac has the absolute best tank items that I could possibly give him at the moment, and then I can give everything else to the Sejuani here just so that she can get some extra cats and yada yada yada. As you can tell here, I'm trash talking a little bit. I think it's deserved after the comment Sub-Zero Arc made prior to this game starting, but I think that is fair enough. Anyways, that basically does it. You can see I'm super happy at the end, and that should do it for the first ever VOD review of Set 14. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something, and I will see you guys very, very soon. I have a bunch of videos lined up for the set, so especially during the PB cycle, you'll see me like rapid upload a lot, so expect that from me for this time around for the PBE, because again, we are full-time content. We are back, baby. Make sure, again, finally, one last thing, if you want to be part of Project PBE, signups close in 2 days. Actually, at the time of recording this video, it's exactly midnight, so it closes in 2 days. Make sure you sign up if you want to partake. We have so many incredible players who are partaking, and Project Mentor signups are open as well, the #1 mentorship program if you want to learn from there and just learn from some of the best players that are available basically anywhere across the globe. But that should do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Take care, you guys, and happy climbing.